Identity is a new trend.
The word identity, what it means is who you are. Like Big Brother watching you, look at how much money you lost over your whole DeFi journey, and some people have. Slashing in any proof of stake, system.
Down the stack from application level to an open token-owned protocol.
We are social animals, and that's kind of programmed into us.
Do something and then either get money, lose money, get reputation, or lose reputation. Welcome to DAO Heroes, a channel for crypto professionals, people who create DAOs, who work at DAOs, who are thinking about to start a DAO, and who change their careers to move to Web3. We do explainers, tutorials, product reviews, experiments, and like today, interviews with experts. Today, we're learning more about the future of reputation on chain, contributor management, and all the topics around this with Stepan Gershuni from Deep Skills. Stepan is actually involved in dozens of projects, not just that. So we're going to talk about how an existing organization can think and brainstorm about potentially starting a DAO, how DAOs experiment with contributors as an alternative to employment, and how to use incentives, especially around reputations and tokens, to kind of guide human behavior towards the shared goals and shared values and value creation for communities. Welcome, Stepan.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Let's maybe start with your background and how you come to Web3. How long have you been in the space? What have you done so far? And maybe a little bit about Deep Skills and your role there.
Thanks for the question. I've been involved in crypto for quite a long time, about 9 years already. Been doing a lot of stuff. So started with Bitcoin, building products on top of Bitcoin, worked at some larger companies like Bitcoin mining and Ethereum, doing smaller projects, hackathon projects and startups when Ethereum launched. The last 4 years, I'm trying to focus on identity management and decentralized identity, reputation, and then decentralized autonomous organizations as a form of contributor-centric organizations in Web3 that are obviously having this amazing growth recently and open up a lot of potential for human collaboration.
Awesome. And you mentioned you've been early around Ethereum. Have you had a chance to buy Ethereum and its original sale?
I did buy a little bit, which was probably a few hundred ETH just after the token sale. I did lose my key, however, just
oh my God,
wasn't careful enough.
What a story. I hope one day you find it. I don't know, maybe some magic. So, okay, let's dive into identity. Identity is a new trend. Obviously, people talk about it for a long time, but it seems to be heating up and more people start paying attention. There was a recent paper co-authored by Vitalik Buterin. So maybe for people who just starting paying the attention, can you give like the basic kind of talking points or the bits? What should we know? What are the definitions? What are the tools to know why people start to care?
I want to give a little bit of reasoning behind why decentralized autonomous organizations and decentralized identity are important topics when we're talking about Web3 and blockchain. Initially started Bitcoin is just as an electronic form of money. Then Ethereum started as this distributed computer where you can launch financial applications, primarily tokens. Then NFTs were just took off and got a lot of adoption. All of that was financialization of real-world assets or creating new synthetic virtual assets online. So basically, Web3 and blockchain acts as a design mechanism for institutions. It's not just companies and apps. Bitcoin is not a company, doesn't have a CEO. Ethereum doesn't have board of directors or revenue. With all these blockchains and blockchain applications, we are designing institutions. We are designing behavior patterns for humans. Financial tokens and tokens alone are not enough. We also need a way to capture in digital form to capture human relationships and identity and what you are, what you love, what you do, who are your friends, and also human collaboration. Basically, that's the reason why are becoming possible right now, because we have all this infrastructure layer. We have all these ways of people to collaborate together, and identity is the core piece of it. So in DeFi, we need identity to, for example, create KYC, compliant decentralized finance, or we need identity to do under-collateralized loans. In NFT, we need identity to do provenance for different forms of digital art. And in DAOs, we need identity to capture all the social relationships that exist in these organizations.
Is it fair to say that there are like more things for people to do in Web3, particularly for individuals, and that requires for them to have like a more public presence, public profile, accumulate past interactions, and maybe leverage the reputation that acquired through past action to, I don't know, get better employment or access to private sales of new NFT project or new contributor roles and things like that?
It is taking the same needs that people have, but making it easier and giving more options and increasing potential. So already today, most people have some kind of online presence. They have Facebook profile or LinkedIn profile or, Telegram channel or just account. But all of those examples are examples of data that is locked into the platforms. So switching costs are high, if possible at all. Like if you're Uber driver, you cannot easily switch and become driver at Lyft. You need to actually
take your reputation and rating to another driver app.
So sign up. If you have friends on Facebook, you cannot take your friends list and import those into Twitter. You actually need to recreate your social graph from scratch. If you have your professional reputation, yes, you can maybe write CV or have some references, but all of that information is self-reported. It has to be verified once again, and it's costly for employers. So what Web3 does is actually providing the same kind of services or giving the same kind of capabilities, but in an open manner. Instead of platform, we have protocols, and the benefit of protocols, they are open, and that means that data is reusable. And basically, the goal of decentralized identity is to unlock data that is already digital, but it exists only within these large corporations.
Yep, people are in charge, and they can kind of have more freedom to move their activity between the apps. They are not locked, like the apps don't have control over user kind of life online.
Yeah, you have all these different permutations of taking data from your, for example, if social data exists as a protocol, you can take social graph, then you can take your professional reputation or just maybe some skills and tasks that you completed with previous projects, and then take some NFTs that you published or sold or your financial activity and combine all of that to maybe create a networking app or dating app or something else.
Yep. Yeah, you can move your stuff across between the apps. Tell me a little bit about the deep skills and your role there.
We're helping existing organizations. We don't really use the word DAO a lot because we believe that fully decentralized and especially fully autonomous organizations do not exist yet, and it probably will require a few more years. So we prefer to use the term internet native organizations, which can be, most of them are Web3, are coming from Web3 space. So we're working with companies or organizations like Gitcoin, Near Protocol, Celo Protocol, Aragon, and many more. And we are helping them to design contributor experience. Basically, we are helping to first apply methodology of decentralized project management. How do you make sure that the work is completed in decentralized way in an organization where you don't have rigid hierarchy, where people can come and go at different times, where onboarding is basically voluntary, anyone can join, the work is transparent. So all these differences that DAOs have compared to centralized corporations. And on top of this, so that is consulting work that we're doing. And then on top of that, we have a software that is a project management tool for DAOs, something between Trello and I would say
Asana,
larger
maybe?
Project management tools. Yeah,
maybe like Asana.
But it's not for individual task tracking, but more to control the work that is done in DAO from bird's eye view perspective.
What are the projects to follow here? So who builds the infrastructure for distributed identity? Who builds the infrastructure for contributor experience beyond deep skills? Who makes it basically the user data portable between different Web3 projects?
There's a lot of examples to give, and maybe I will definitely forget some of those, but we can split it into a few areas. So from decentralized identity perspective, there's a few very important areas where a lot of innovation is happening. For example, the whole idea of decentralized identifiers and the standards around it. So before we can get to this interoperable world, when your data does not belong and does not reside on Facebook servers, but rather you have full control over it, you need some standardized way of using it. So, for example, Spruce ID is building this sign-in with Ethereum project, which is amazing. Actually, I personally love the fact that in Web3 you don't need to I don't use passwords ever when I work with, I don't know, Compound or Uniswap or any other Web3 app. And that's great. I love this experience. Another example would be data storage. So Ceramic Network, for example.
One correction here. So I don't know about you. I use MetaMask and I log in on all those services with MetaMask, but MetaMask is using passwords.
It is a form of securing your access or securing your identity, which is basically just a key pair. You can
all right. So essentially, instead of having a password, instead of having password for every service, I have a password for MetaMask, and then I can use MetaMask for everything.
Yeah. So I think there was somewhere on Twitter, I've heard this phrase.
I just want to continue here because this sounds crazy, actually. So it looks like instead of having lots of passwords, I now have a one password, but now that feels even more centralized than the Web 2. In Web 2, I have the separate password for everyone. And here I have one password for MetaMask that basically controls my life.
The password is just a user-generated private key. So passwords existed when we had to enable security online. It was centralized because you couldn't just PGP or any kind of public key asymmetric cryptography was too complicated to be used widely. Now we have wallets, and really any blockchain wallet is nothing more than just a key store. What it does, it stores your key pair, and then all the data is on the blockchain. So it actually, your coins are not in your wallet. Your coins are on the blockchain, and your wallet just has the password, your private key that allows you to get to use them. Your private key with the password is probably the easiest form and the most kind of skeuomorphic, the ones that is easier to understand from evolutionary perspective.
I understand that we are kind of halfway there. So we need to onboard the users with something that they understand and used for, like a password for MetaMask. But then the second step, like logging in into individual Web3 services, is already a new native version where you like sign transactions with wallets and kind of things happen in a kind of new way.
In addition to password, you can have biometric authentication. You can have social key recovery if your key get compromised. There's a lot of research and solutions that are coming.
We got a little bit sidetracked on the authentication things. So let's go back to the decentralized identity and portability of user data. So you mentioned Sign with ETH, great project. Any other projects that people need to know?
I don't know all the projects in authentication space, for example, but I want to just give examples from different areas. So
subcategories.
Having control over your digital identity is important. So MetaMask and signing with Ethereum, those projects are important. Second, data storage is crucial. Things like Arweave or Ceramic Network or Filecoin is crucial because unlike Facebook and Google, now you can have direct access and direct control and full ownership over your data, be it your financial data and maybe medical documents or something like your, I don't know, the fact that you liked a certain tweet or a certain Facebook post. Then there's a lot of reputation protocols, for example, Backdrop or Merit Protocol or SourceCred or Coordinate, those systems that allow you to accrue.
That category is very interesting. So which one is your favorite, or which one do you think people should follow the most closely?
All of them are different. So I have a list of about 50 different reputation protocols, and they have different target segments. For example, SourceCred is designed to create and quantify reputation of engineers primarily. Whereas something like Backdrop is focused on DAO contributors. They look at your voting activity and your NFTs and which tokens do you have. And Wonderverse, for example, is focused on DAO contributors. So people who are actively doing work at DAOs. And those might be different target segments. There's also reputation protocols, which are more on the fun side, like Degen score. They just look at how much money you lost over your whole DeFi journey. And some people have insanely large score at it.
So I think that we should start like a whole episode on this, like how to build a reputation based on money you lost. This is so fun. Who has the biggest reputation on Degen score?
I don't know.
We need to check it out. We need to check it out. This is super interesting. Is it public? Like yeah. Is it public? Can we see the top 10? That would be very interesting. Any predictions where things are going? What are you most excited for? Say next 6 months, next 12 months.
In Web3, we are moving so fast just because everything or most things are open source and composable. That means that any innovation that is happening is instantly being combined and used in many different ways. So 6 months from now can be equal to something like 4 years in traditional industries, especially as we're entering bear market stage. That might be bad from investment perspective, but that usually, if we look back at history, at examples, that usually produces actually much more innovation because companies have nothing else to do but create stuff that their customers want and use and ready to pay for. On top of, outside of scalability issues, which are being solved anyways, and actually roll-ups are basically operational and that issue will be solved. The two main areas to look out for are to look for are identity, decentralized identity, because it is such an important fundamental infrastructure.
And maybe more specifically, what will happen there? Like you already mentioned there is a new sign-in systems, there is a new reputation scoring systems. So what specifically in the identity area, what do you think will happen in the next 6 months?
Another example I can give is Lens protocol. For example, it's designed and launched by Avi team, but it's open source and there's a lot of contributors, and they are building decentralized social graph. I think it's very powerful primitive that will allow any social interactions and any social media, social networks to be created using Web3 native technology. So how it works, you get an NFT issued for every post or every account that you follow, and you can design this very crazy, interesting mechanism. So you can ask people to pay tokens to follow you, or you can have an NFT for a DAO, and then every time their posts are shared by other people, someone who wrote that post within the DAO is getting compensated by DAO tokens, and all of that is done in completely permissionless and autonomous and programmable way. So there's no real human. It's done by smart contract. That is super powerful, and that was never possible before in the history of internet. And that's just the social network, the social graph layer. But on top of the social graph, which just captures connections between people or things or contracts or organizations, you can have this reputation layer that is capturing the quality of that connections. So we can have things like, I have a friendship connection with you, but I also can give you kudos for being a great YouTuber, and you can have same connection with another organization, and then that information can be funneled into another decentralized application that is maybe issuing tokens. So if you have like 20 kudos from people that are supporting your YouTube channel, you can now mint this NFT of like top YouTubers, and now you get access to this new DAO that only accepts people who have some success on YouTube, and a lot of just Cambrian explosion of potential new ways how all of this can be done. But the most important part, it's done in trustless, permissionless, fully autonomous way.
So what's the name of the project?
It's Lens protocol, LENS.
This is really interesting. And maybe to clarify on Lens protocol, is it primarily more like a media graph? So who follows whom, who consume content from whom, who appreciate whom? Or is it really a social graph, which is more like a two-way, like whose parents or classmate or, I don't know, colleague or things like that?
They call it social graph protocol, but really what it does, it allows you to capture one-way connections with primarily content creators. So you have NFT as your profile.
Yeah,
you have NFT
The starting point is a media network. Yeah, I got it. Yep. Awesome.
But
This is great.
They're not building application layer. So it's just a protocol, and then other people are building applications on top.
Yeah, so the apps, the consumer experiences are built by other people. They capture the relationships, the data, the reputation scoring, maybe flow of money like tips and donations and subscriptions and things like that. Do you have a Lens account? Do you have any NFTs from them, or have you used any apps that is powered by Lens protocol?
It was just launched a few months ago. There's no production apps, and I think it's still in testnet. But I'm really looking forward seeing some cool stuff built on it.
Do you know what chain they build on?
They use Polygon for now, but probably they will switch to some rollup later on. So it's EVM based, but then we'll see it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Any chain will work.
Good. What do you think people misunderstand about identity? Or where do you think most people believe A and you think clearly it's B?
When you tell someone digital identity or decentralized identity, people usually think about some formal things like KYC, AML credential, or your passport, or your maybe diploma, or some kind of credential, usually government issued. But in reality, the word identity, what it means is who you are. And that's the goal of this kind of area. What we want to represent is who is someone, who is the person, what they love, what they do, who they know, what they're interested in, where they work. And that doesn't mean that all of this information has to be public. We don't want to create dystopian system from Black Mirror or like Big Brother watching you kind of scenario. We want to digitize this information, make it actionable and programmable, but also give users full control over who can access it and when and for how long. And then also there's all these cool things like zero knowledge technology that allows you to make it very, very privacy preserving.
Yeah, maybe to simplify things, I've seen people like investing in their reputations for almost like 3 or 4 main use cases. That is like 90% of what I've seen, which is like one for work, like you accumulate credentials and reputation to get better work. Second is for dating, like again, meet people whom you want to. And the third one would be fame or like following, so that people pay attention to or power to what you say. And I guess those are the main things. So work, relationships, and fame. So essentially, my understanding that the portable identity is like if I did something useful and important in app 1 and I get my fame points or dating points or work points, and then I go to app B, I want to be recognized as non-zero person. Like I not start from scratch on every app and say, hey, I already have like Degen score. Hey, I already lost a lot of money on these 3 protocols. Please treat me very well on this 4th place. Is that what we are going for?
We can also add one more big area of investment here, which is financial and credit score. Basically, we need some representation of credit score for DeFi because that will actually move the industry forward. I think one thing that people underestimate is how much potential this will open up. Because we never had, in the history of humanity, the situation where all this data is accessible. Maybe it's not public and it shouldn't be public, but you can write an application. If you provide enough value to the users, they will share their professional data and restaurants that they like and maybe car manufacturer or some reviews or their financial information or all kind of various information regarding different areas of their life. And that can be combined and used to create a lot of cool stuff. We are used to this notion of reputation and credentialing as something binary. You either have a degree, university degree, or you don't.
Yep.
In reality, it is not binary. It is not a step function, which is 0 or 1. It is more like a gradient where you every day, when you go to work, when you speak to someone, when you do something, when you draw a picture or write a line of code or talk to someone on a phone, you learn something. And that increases your professional...
I think like people like Uber drivers understand that very well because their reputation grows with every ride, or like anyone who works in delivery projects like that.
And that's awesome. A huge growing area of gig economy, which would benefit from it, because my thesis basically is that everything that is a platform today, or most of the platforms today, like Uber or Instacart or Airbnb, or Facebook or even YouTube, at some point will become a protocol because that's just economically more viable. It gives more to the users and it offers more creativity, more flexibility to developers and to people building.
And this is really interesting. So do you expect that to happen from within? So Uber releasing Uber protocol, or there would be some sort of counter Uber or like the anti-Uber, the new Web3 startup that will be built as a protocol?
The important part is that this will only happen when the decentralized identity is solved, because to build a protocol
I'm personally very curious about whether it would be from within or outside. I understand that we need some time.
You need to build this decentralized identity capability. It's not important. So I think Facebook or Uber, their teams are smart enough and they have a lot of interest and curiosity in Web3 tools to actually explore this. It would be actually great if they will decide to build a protocol because they have already a lot of knowledge. But as we've seen many times with many industries in the history, if the incumbent, if the someone who is Leviathan in some industry, if they just choose to ignore technology, they will get disrupted. It's not important actually who will become this new wave. Would it be like an internal team?
I'll ask you. Let's take top 10 biggest marketplaces related to gig economy directly or indirectly, and let's move 5 years into the future or 10 years into the future. Do you believe out of those 10 marketplaces, majority will introduce and then we'll look for like what is the leading protocol in that kind of marketplace area? Do you think out of those 10 categories, over 5 will be represented primarily by protocols from incumbents, or like majority will be new protocols, the ground up?
I don't know. I think it's really not important. What is important is that their business model will change. They will not focus on application layer.
They will change, or they will either change or lose.
For Uber protocol, there will be 500 UIs, the different apps. Yeah. Uber for kids, Uber for San Francisco, Uber for disabled people. But the underlying protocol would be the same. And that protocol will not be owned by any single company because that's the definition of decentralized protocol. It will probably be a tokenized network where somebody who creates it, like Uber, if they contribute a lot of work, a lot of code to it, they will probably have a lot, or just capital. They will have significant share. But then anybody will be able to buy a share. And actually, as a driver, you will get rewarded in tokens, which represent ownership over protocol. Will be great if that happens.
Yeah, this is very interesting. So essentially, you're saying a DAO will be created. A company like Uber will donate some of their IP and technology, and to make it a more open and composable and reusable protocol. And then the tokens will be used both for kind of ownership of that protocol, but also for incentive design.
Yes, or if they refuse to embrace this future, they don't have to donate. They don't have to. They
will receive tokens. When I say donate, I mean move.
To change their business model. But if they refuse to embrace it, then somebody will come. Somebody new will come and disrupt them, because that's an economic forces that will drive closed platforms where me as a driver, I don't have a lot of flexibility and I'm locked in and I don't have any really power. I will prefer to work with a DAO, which provides similar comparable service for me as a driver, but is much more open and I actually much more transparent and I have much more flexibility.
Let's talk about incentive design. So it looks like the reputations, the distributed identity, the tokens, it's all kind of creating this incredible kind of playing area or sandbox or whatever, where you can start design kind of mechanics. Like if you do this, you get that. If you get that, you can do this. I know you're very passionate about kind of this design space of incentives in DAOs and DAO customers. So any trends, any lessons, or like what are the biggest insights you've come across in your recent kind of months and years?
Yeah, just a few important observations. What I think is Web3. Web3 is about mechanism design from Bitcoin. Bitcoin is possible because it's a smart mechanism that is designed to manage and operate this decentralized monetary system. Web3 is also about building institutions. So instead of Uber being a platform, which it belongs to a single company. We're designing the social institution, which is just transportation network where we have drivers and buses and cars and scooters and all of that is in the single decentralized tokenized networks. So that trend is happening. To expedite this trend and to actually be able to do it, we need tools. I would say that we have just 3 tools to design institutions. First is regulation, which is what humanity was mostly using historically, but it doesn't work in Web3 when we're not able to write laws and we cannot enforce them. But we have 2 more. We have finance, so tokens. That's how Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other blockchain mechanism designers work. It's economic mechanism design. We're using tokens to reward and penalize people for their behavior. And then the new one that is coming, which is reputation, your social standing, your social capital, your social relationships. That is as important as finance because, we are social animals and that's kind of programmed into us and there's no way around it. And that is very important and very powerful tool to design these mechanisms. So if we can reward people for doing something good for the protocol with both tokens and some kind of reputation or praise or merit or kudos, we can also penalize. And if we find a way to capture privacy-preserving negative reputation, like credit score agencies do, but in their closed source form, then we will open up this design space and we will be able to actually advance. And as I said, DeFi, NFTs, DAOs, and all these different applications of Web3 and blockchain technology.
In a very basic form, the incentive design is about rules like this. Do something and then either get money, get reputation, or lose reputation.
Yeah. Basically.
And can you give it like a cool example? Like, I don't know, share this on Twitter or like participate in 10 snapshot votes and then get this or get that. Like, what are the most interesting, like basic rule that you've seen around?
For now, in blockchains, it's mostly staking, slashing, and new token emission, new token supply. So if you're running a Bitcoin miner, you are getting new coins. If you're running ETH2 validator node, you need to stake coins, and then you get some interest rate on it, and you are also getting slashed if you behave incorrectly. And that are the primitives that people are using.
What is the slashing? I'm not very familiar. So what is slashing?
Slashing in any proof of stake system, slashing would be a penalty for you as a validator doing something wrong. For example, trying to put invalid block into the blockchain, or maybe going offline when you're
and
supposed
slashing
to
means reducing interest rate on staking, or like taking your staked coins away.
Yeah, it's burning parts of your deposit. So when you're becoming a validator in any proof of stake system, you put a deposit, and then slashing is just burning parts of it.
I just realized that people who like rent me an apartment do slashing. If I damage like a window or something, they burn part of my.
Well, they take it on themselves. They are not destroying the money. But
that's the difference. That's the difference.
Yeah, the same.
Today was a great episode. Thanks, Stepan, for stopping by. We've learned about the future trend towards distributed identity, how users will be in control of their data, how they can move the data between the apps, how the apps can do incentive design to encourage good behavior and discourage bad behavior, and do that through either financial instruments like giving or taking away money in forms of deposits and staking and interest, as well as reputational rewards and punishments, like increasing reputation score, decreasing that, and like some sort of blacklist for bad behaviors, instruments like that. And seems like even outside of like the temporary kind of setback on crypto coin token prices, the things look bright and the innovation is just getting started. We have like the infrastructure layer around, and now at the application level, more and more things can happen, but also at the protocol level. If the previous protocols were primarily financial protocols about how moving money, then the new protocol seems to be about social and media and reputation and this kind of new class of protocols. And then we also touched base that the marketplaces will also turn into protocols. So companies like Uber and Airbnb can either jump down the stack from application level to an open token owned protocol, or maybe they will have a challenger who will kind of, if they don't move there, then the challenger will do it. This was super great. Thanks, Stepan.
Amazing. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me.
For everyone listening, we are DAO Heroes, a channel for DAO professionals. We bring experts to go deep and help people explore Web3. Please subscribe, give us a like, give a comment on what next episodes you want to listen. And do you actually believe that existing companies can kind of move to the token-based protocols, or do you think it will be all new companies? Thank you, everyone, and bye.